I saw that someone dumped off 4 tires and a bunch of their trash on the side of the road down the winding hills right outside of Hoquiam on the way to the beach. I like to call that area the S-curves. That's the area that was a nice forested drive with that slow lane turnout for insecure drivers who can't drive at least the speed limit there, which is posted 50 miles an hour. I'm a bit jaded because they had to log the area. This isn't anything against loggers trying to make a living to feed their families. This is more about our constant need to develop. More. You see, I didn't need to clear out a bunch of forested acreage to build a brand new house. I didn't mind buying a used house in the environment I wanted to live in. I felt lucky enough to work and save to even get a house after a lifetime of renting. Unfortunately, others feel the need to buy up acreage, make a bunch of lots so other people can build their dream house. Next thing you know, the forest some wanted to live in isn't forest anymore. But I digress. When I saw that pile of tires and trash, I said to myself, that's some good parenting right there. Speaking of stupid, many of us forget where this COVID thing came from. While the Chinese government hid it, and we don't really know for sure if it was released maliciously, you can't trust anything the press says. What happened to until every vote is counted? They stopped saying that after shutting down ballot counting for the night and miraculously found Biden leading when they resumed.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
The coronavirus during the angelic Barack Hussein's reign targeted kids. We insisted we didn't shut down the country then, but now that it targets unhealthy and often older people, we insist on closing things down, hurting the silent majority in order to extend a small percentage of lives. Maybe that's harsh to say. Honest? You decide. The same people who are suddenly concerned with saving lives did nothing about death in the ghetto, death in war, death from other flu viruses, or the abortion clinic, most of which preventable, but they suddenly care now. We want to save lives because it's convenient, and it allows us to blame people politically even though they had nothing to do with this. Is it saving lives or stalling death? Speaking of COVID corona Wuhan virus and the numbers, a doctor told me that a COVID test is done up to 6 times. So if you have COVID, that's 6 positive tests for the single person added to the numbers. I know the press didn't tell you that, so it must not be true. What do doctors know anyway? Like with anything, just follow the money. A lot of people have benefited from this Wuhan corona COVID virus, and you're not one of them. If it was Russia that did what China did with this whole COVID thing, Democrats would insist that it was an act of war and we retaliate. They always seem to give a pass to China. Weird. And every day we start to look like China's communist society. Surveillance, masks, suppressing information, media manipulation, controlling speech. Those are just more coincidences to add to our list. Nothing to see here. Okay, so let's drink the Kool-Aid and pretend this was a totally spontaneous nature thing that happened with no Chinese government cover-up involved and blah, 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 and we will totally Biden into it.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
If this was actually the case, could Mother Nature be trying to tell us something?
So you got to figure out a way to thin out the herd, and it's too late. These are the hard decisions that are going to have to be made. You know how I would do it? I would randomly sink cruise ships.
I often think of that line from The Matrix where the bad guy sums up his observation of the human race.
Every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment, but you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply until every natural resource is consumed. And the only way you can survive is to spread to another area. There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern, a virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague.
We are the biggest threat to this planet, yet we're supposedly the caretakers. Some care we're taking, aren't we? We complain about forest fires, but over 90% are caused by humans. Then we complain about thinning the forests, which help prevent forest fires. She just can't win. Or how about neutering pets?
No, but somewhere along the line, it became socially acceptable to cut your dog's balls off, whether there's anything wrong with them or not, under the whole fear of well, if we don't do it, he's going to make more dogs, and what are we going to do with all these dogs? We're not going to have homes? What are we going to do?
There's also a homeless person epidemic after 8 years of Obama, too.
You can just keep banging away, making one useless, mediocre, not going to invent kid after another. No, I don't understand people like that. So don't you realize after your third loser kid, you don't have the DNA to make somebody special? You're just making more in the way people just walking around.
Dumping their trash on the side of the road.
Oh, you know that dude, whenever you go into the deli, there's always that guy in front of you doesn't know what he wants. Oh, what kind of bread is that? It's like, dude, stop making that guy.
Ever since I started working here, I would notice this family of deer resting on this grassy area here next to the station. On my way in, I'd always tell them good morning. Well, I won't see that lineage of deer anymore since we had to level the block and build stuff, probably more medical clinics. We're more important than everything. I think I saw them grazing in the yard of a meth house. They'll be fine. They certainly won't get eaten there. It must be because of the overpopulation of deer, not because we're running them out of their natural habitat. They say that about cougars and black bears, too. We keep seeing them because there are too many of them. Not because we just leveled the woods and dumped a bunch of tires and garbage in their habitat. It's always them, caretakers of the planet.
Dude, the deer didn't put a hole in the ozone layer, all right? That's not a bunch of dogs clogging up the freeways. It's us, right? We can all we want. No one's going to stop. You could have 15 kids, have a 16th on the way.
And our solution to our ever-expanding expansions? The Green New Deal, which makes about as much sense as Alex Cortez being in any position of power and influence beyond the daily lunch specials. You know this, too, because you've read it, right?
There's nothing wrong with driving a gas-guzzling car. There's just too many people doing it.
Elon Musk said electricity consumption will double if the world's vehicle fleets are electrified. That means we would have to go nuclear because we can't support our consumption. We consume too much. Is that surprising? We overconsume everything. Some say the answer is to restrict our ingenuity. How about we address irresponsible reproduction? Probably could have prevented all sorts of roadside trash dumping and other problems we've created for everyone else, like toilet paper shortages.
That's why I love old people. Well, they always with their family photos, cracks me up. They always, well, they're all proud, like, well, we had 5 kids, and then they all had 5, and da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, none of you did. I don't recognize anybody in that photo. You just made 30 people who are all taking a shit every day that ends up in a river. That's not a family photo. That's an environmental disaster, and you framed it.
So back to the garbage dump on the side of the road. Did they expect someone else to clean it up? Could they not spend the $10 to take it to the dump?
Civilization and modern medicine allow for even the dumbest and most physically unfit to survive and pass their genes on to the next generation.
A recent study suggests that our species has been getting dumber.
Have no fear. Artificial intelligence is here and is going to save the world. What could possibly go wrong? Elon Musk tried to warn our fearless leaders about AI.
I have exposure to the very most cutting-edge AI. I think people should be really concerned about it. I keep sounding the alarm bell, but until people see like robots going down the street killing people, like they don't know how to react, because it seems so ethereal. I think we should be really concerned about AI. AI is a rare case where I think we need to be proactive in regulation instead of reactive, because I think by the time we are reactive in AI regulation, it's too late. I tried to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene in a movie.
I was really going on the warning quite a lot. I was warning everyone I could.
We love Elon Musk when he's making electric cars and global internet, but when he says something that might be an inconvenience to us, we ignore him. At least our political leaders that we've elected ignored him.
You met with Obama, and just for one reason.
Just talk about AI.
Yes. I met with Congress. I was at a meeting of all 50 governors and talked about just AI danger. I talked to everyone I could. No one seemed to realize where this was going. It could be terrible, and it could be great. It's not clear. One thing is for sure, we will not control it.
He should have met with our new leaders in China. Well, they probably would have locked him up. Give it time, we'll start doing that too.
The percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing, and eventually we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
What do you mean eventually?
Your phone is already an extension of you. You're already a cyborg. Most people don't realize they are already a cyborg.
We're already a cyborg, we're never happy, and we have horrible memories. Anyway, many are afraid that AI will destroy humanity. What's left of humanity. Since we now overreact to things we don't agree with, if we don't like the president, or if the media establishment pushes a pandemic that fuels overdramatic people into a frenzy. That whole trophies for all did wonders for our self-esteem, didn't it? Good call. At this rate, artificial intelligence won't need to destroy us. We're doing a fine job of it ourselves. Maybe we're just preparing ourselves to be controlled by AI. Lately, we've been begging to be controlled by something or someone, since we find it so difficult to control ourselves.
The
left held the American people hostage. They said, we will riot and destroy your town unless you vote for us.
When our students do bad, we plead for more funding. When we push a narrative that police do bad, we insist we take funds away. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I sure hope our government doesn't end up holding the joystick for AI. Look at how they mishandle human intelligence.
They're still rioting, mind you, in Portland and Seattle, even with Biden winning.
Or lack thereof. But I forget, you voted for them. Because reasons. Remember all the times we complained that we needed a non-politician to be president? Even Donald Trump? Then we got one? What bad memories we have.
So there was a shuttle tragedy and 7 people died. And that's terrible, but a lot of people die all the time. But why do we care so much?
How could he be so cruel? What a horrible person. We better take to the streets and riot. Actually, I just did what the media's been doing to you to push a narrative. I didn't play the entire audio clip.
A lot of people die all the time. But why do we care so much? Because it was the dream of exploration that was dying along with those people. That's why.
Oh, what a naive species. So we overconsumed, we try to control Mother Nature, we trash the place, and we're making an artificial intelligence to think for itself and run our lives. You really think AI is going to let us continue our gluttonous, selfish ways and risk destroying everything else? You already have a political party that wants to control what you say, how you live, what information you have access to. Just think when AI takes over.
One thing is for sure, we will not control it.
Maybe that's why they ignored Elon's warning.
AI is fundamental existential risk for human civilization, and I don't think people fully appreciate that.
I tend to seek guidance from people smarter than me. It's unfortunate so many others use the mainstream press as their moral compass.
So, somebody who denies the Holocaust has happened is not misinformation.
It's misleading information, but we don't have a policy against that type of misleading information.
And to think that this rant started because some nitwits dumped their trash on the side of the road. Yeah, you really want to know what I think? I don't think so. I call it how I see it.